Welcome to Aix-en-Provence,
Thank
first of
you.
all.
It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, isn't it? So I'll just jump right into it. How would you define prosperity?
I think prosperity is the ability to make choices, which immediately means that it's a relative concept, not just a absolute one. It depends on other people. I think that choices need to be seen in a local context, but also in an international context. And I think that the ability to make choices is what leads human beings to solutions. And I quite like the idea, which isn't mine, but was from a friend of mine, that real prosperity is the ability to make solutions. But I frame it in terms of the ability to make choices, either at the individual level or the social level.
In light of recent popular votes, how worried are you for the world and prosperity in general?
Well, I think that global prosperity is growing reasonably well. If you're Chinese or Indian, you've seen extraordinary improvements in your life chances. If you're South Korean or Vietnamese, you've seen amazing changes in average income, and actually the floor in those countries has been lifted dramatically in the last 30 years. Obviously, the global economy in the short term poses one set of problems, but there's a deeper question, I think, for Western countries, which is how they reconcile the politics and the economics. The politics of trade, the politics of migration, the politics of sharing sovereignty at international level are all very, very difficult, but the economics for those things is really important and really positive. And you're going to see in this country, I think, that the need for reform of the welfare state is obviously very strong as an economic imperative. The politics has always been very difficult. And it's that tension between politics and economics that I think is something that we need to grapple with, not just at national level, but one of the attractive things about the new government here is that they want to be committed internationalists, not just patriotic nationalists, if you like, or patriots. They want to think internationally. And that seems to me very important because certainly working and living in the United States at the moment, the assault on the global post-war order from the Trump administration on climate, on trade, is very strong.
Now, world refugee crisis, you call it a test. Now, what specific ways should we find to make a difference, to make it work?
Well, I think there is a global refugee crisis, more refugees than any time since 1945, record numbers, now 25 million refugees or asylum seekers, 40 million internally displaced. One in every 110 people on the planet has been forced from their homes, not by economic incentives, but by war or persecution. So let's understand that it's a crisis. And then I think that when it comes to solutions, there are more solutions than meet the eye. So countries like Uganda have shown you can get refugees into work. The reform of the humanitarian system so that instead of giving people tents and blankets, we give them cash, that's also been shown to work. Half of all displaced people, including half of all refugees, are children. Yet education is not an investment that the humanitarian sector makes in any kind of sensible way. So I think that there are some things that we can see work if there's a willingness to have a new kind of contract between the international community, the wealthier parts of the world, and those countries which are hosting refugees. Because the greatest myth is that most refugees are in rich countries. It's wrong. 90% of refugees are in poor or lower middle income countries, and that's the global bargain that we need.
Now, being here in Aix-en-Provence, among all these different actors, how hopeful that makes you?
Well, it's early days yet, and I've jet lagged coming off a plane from New York. So, and I've just done my session. So, hope is maybe to be found over the next 48 hours. What I always say to people is that if you look at the statistics in my world, you get depressed. But if you look at the people, you find hope, and people show incredible resilience, and they find solutions, often of necessity. And so, I think if you want to find hope, you should probably not look here. We should look among the theorists. You should look to the people making a difference on the ground.
If you had one last word to say to us.
I would say that the refugee crisis is manageable, not insoluble, and that we each have a personal responsibility to help make it so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.